to share a little bit about shadow work. What is the shadow? You know, we hear this term and we contract, we turn away, we don't want to look. It's okay, it's totally understandable. You know, when we look out at the world today and the stress and the strife and the struggle that everyone is in and the horrific things that we see happening around the world, that is a reflection of the shadow aspects of certain individuals that are behind the wheel of the car. And they're behind the wheel of the car not only in their own lives, but impacting and affecting the lives of so many. For eons of time, we have been under the misunderstanding that trying to force or control or manipulate, coerce, cajole things outside of us is the answer to the harmony that we seek for ourselves, for the people that we love. And the truth is that the world is reflecting to us the material that we hold in our consciousness. And so if we want to participate in shaping the world that we live in, we start with ourselves. We start with our own inner struggles, our own inner upsets, the things that we are in control of relating to and evolving. And that's where we get back to the shadow. See, the shadow is not bad. The shadow is not wrong. The shadow is not evil. But when left unattended, these disowned aspects of ourselves can be like the runaway train. And in psychology, the shadow refers to these unconscious parts of our personality that have been repressed, deemed as unacceptable or undesirable. They can include everything from negative emotions to traits, like traits that are part of us that we have deemed unacceptable, desires that we have, which are often hidden from our conscious awareness due to social norms, personal beliefs, and the control that we have all been subject to from, let's just call them the forces that be. The single biggest thing that we can do is to tend to our own stuff. Because when we can reside in a peaceful, loving, grounded, neutral place inside of ourselves, then it is that state of being that emanates out into the collective. But what we have today is we have a lot of upset, and we have outrage, and we have fury. And I'm not saying that the things that are happening are not justified in that fury. So I really deeply want you to hear the message that I am sending and sharing. The things that are happening are outrageous, but our outrage is not going to begin to solve the problem, because as we've seen for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, force met with force creates collision, creates pain, creates death. And there has to be a different way. There has to be another way. And that other way is by taking the deeper level of responsibility for the role that we each individually play as we collectively comprise the whole. So that brings us back to the shadow. These parts of ourself that we deem as unacceptable are really part of our wholeness. But when they go unattended and we are unconscious to the reactivity and the reactions of some of these shadow patterns, that's when we can get in trouble. And, we see illustration of this out and around the world. I've been doing this work every day since 2013. I've taken myself through a lot of shadow work. And not long ago, weeks ago, I was with my husband and we had been traveling. We had very difficult travel, so I was sort of under-resourced. Physically, emotionally, mentally. I was tired, I was hungry, and I wanted to jump into a cab that was waiting for us when we had arrived after our, 12 or 13-hour journey. But my husband was very insistent that he wanted to take an Uber. And I was so angry. I was so mad that I had to wait even longer. I had this desire, right? My desire was to just, let's get in a car and let's just go. And he insisted that we call an Uber instead of jumping in a cab. And then this Uber arrived and it was very small. It was so small, it had no trunk, that the big suitcases that we had ended up getting crammed into the back seat with me, where the wheels of this car were like poking into my ribs, and this tiny little shit box, let's just say it, there was a spring sticking up in my butt for this ride. And what did I do? I got in the cab. My little girl was like, this indignant part of myself that was being told what to do was absolutely infuriated. I was absolutely enraged because I was perceiving being told to get into the back of this car that I didn't want to get into the back of. What was the other option? The other option would have been to just simply say, babe, I'm not getting in that Uber. I'm going to get in this cab over here. If you want to take the Uber, I'll meet you there, but I'm going to get in the cab. And I could have, like an adult, gotten in the cab, and perhaps the entire experience would have been different. But I wouldn't have the opportunity to be sharing this story with you, that one of my shadow aspects, the aspect of control, which is one of my shadows, my life's work shadow, felt powerless. She felt controlled and manipulated. And this was a younger part of myself who, again, was sort of under-resourced. I was tired and wasn't in a calm, grounded, loving place. So this aspect of me became inflamed. And a lot of things went on to happen as a result of that, because that inflammation that I was bringing then got injected into the next couple of days that unfolded on what was supposed to be a lovely Valentine's Day weekend vacation for my husband and I. What I recognized, and why I'm sharing this with you, was that was an unhealed, repressed part of me that felt like she couldn't use her voice, that she couldn't be heard or seen, especially when force meets force, right? Then we get into that struggle. This shadow aspect of my control behaviors, where I felt like I was being controlled, then was intermingling with a shadow of inadequacy, where I felt powerless, and for some reason believed in that moment that my voice didn't matter, my needs didn't matter, my desires didn't matter. This is just an example of what happens with our shadow aspects. So what did I do? I had to work out within myself sort of what happened. And I had to take the deepest level of responsibility that the course of events that unfolded that way because I was participating in them with my shadow, not with my loving self. This is why and how we want to begin to address these aspects within us. So the shadow are these disowned parts of us, the parts that maybe we don't like or accept, the aspects of us that are unprocessed. That was a part of me that was unprocessed. She felt like she couldn't, from a calm place, have a neutral conversation to be able to express her needs because it was being met with my own angst. At the deepest level, all of our shadows are rooted in fear. And, we can probably pretty much do or say anything when we come from a place of love, when we come from a place of authenticity, a place of intimacy, a place of grounded sovereignty. I can deliver bad news. I can speak up from within myself about what it is I need and like what works for me and what doesn't work for me because I'm grounded in that place of loving. But when my shadow is running the show, then I'm acting out of fear. And we have a whole world right now that is acting out of fear. And this is why it's so critically important to address our shadows. In the work that I guide people through, we go deep. We take one shadow at a time and we use our gene key hologenetic profile through the Venus sequence, where we will isolate, explore, and understand at a deeper level what the contract is under the work that we are here to do in our own life around these particular shadows. We're going to understand at a deeper level how these are imprinted into our psyche, into our consciousness. They're not by chance. They're not by accident. And that's the beauty of using the hologenetic profile and particularly the Venus sequence, which is the sequence that is really designed to heal our childhood wounding, to open our hearts, and to heal our relationships and the connections that we have with one another. So if you'd like to learn more, you can read a little bit more on the page below on this journey that I will be guiding us through. But I just wanted to share a little bit about my own experience and a little bit about what is the shadow and why do we need to address it. Hope you found this helpful. Thank you so much for watching.